अन्यच्छ्रेयोऽन्यदुतैव प्रेयस्ते उभे नानार्थे पुरुषंसि नीतः तयोः श्रेय आददानस्य साधु भवति हीयतेऽर्थाद्य उप्रेयो वृणीते श्रेयश्च प्रेयश्च मनुष्यमेतस्तौ सम्परीत्य विविनक्ति धीरः श्रेयो हि धीरोऽभिप्रेयसो वृणीते प्रेयो मन्दो योगक्षेमान् वृणीते सत्वं प्रियान् प्रियरूपांश्च कामान् अभिध्यायन्नचिकेतोऽत्यस्राक्षी नैतान् शृङ्कान् वित्तमयीमवाप्तो यस्यां मज्जन्ति बहवो मनुष्याः दूरमेते विपरीते विशूची अविद्याया च विद्येति ज्ञाता विद्याभिप्सिनं नचिकेतसम्मन्ये नत्वा कामा बहवो लोलुपन्त अविद्यायामन्तरे वर्तमानाः स्वयं धीराः पण्डितं मन्यमानाः दन्द्रभ्यमाणाः पर्यन्ति मूढा अन्धेनैव नीयमाना यथान्धाः न साम्परायः प्रतिभाति बालं प्रमाद्यन्तं वित्तमोहेन मूढम् अयं लोको नास्ति पर इति मानी पुनः पुनर्वशमापद्यते मे श्रवणायापि बहुभिर्यो न लभ्यः शृण्वन्तोऽपि बहवोऽयं न विद्युः आश्चर्यो वक्ता कुशलोऽस्य लब्धा आश्चर्यो ज्ञाता कुशलानुशिष्टः न नरेणावरेण प्रोक्तः एष सुविज्ञेयो बहुधा चिन्त्यमानः अनन्यप्रोक्ते गतिरत्र नास्ति अणीयान् ह्यतर्क्यमणुप्रमाणात्
हरि ओम। Mantra 5, please.
नचिकेतसम्मन्ये नत्वा कामा बहवो लोलुपन्त अविद्यायामन्तरे वर्तमानाः स्वयं धीराः पण्डितं मन्यमानाः दन्द्रभ्यमाणाः पर्यन्ति मूढा अन्धेनैव नीयमाना यथान्धा।
Very, very famous mantra. Avidyayamantare vartamanah swayam dhira panditam manyamanah. This mantra appears in the Mundaka Upanishad and the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Only difference in the Mundaka Upanishad, in the second line, the first word, Dandramyamanaha is replaced with the Janghanyamanaha, both meaning the same. So the mantra says, fools, steeped in ignorance, what do they consider? They consider themselves to be very wise and learned. The deluded go round and round in many crooked ways, just as the blind led by the blind. Andhenaiva niyamana yathandhaha. Just like the blind led by the blind, they go round and round in many, many crooked ways. So this mantra is proverbial. It is often quoted. It's proverbial to criticize the small pundits, the pundits who think themselves to be wise and knowledgeable. Just because they're able to twist and quote and torture these textbooks, they are able to rattle off these Vedic textbooks, because from the early age, what they do in these Vedic schools, Vedic pundits, is what? Simply rattle the mantras. I know what I'm talking. The condition which my guru accepted me into the ashram is because I could rattle off the Vishnu Sahasranamam. At the age of 16, I could rattle it. On that condition, he took me. One of the conditions, not that condition, I must say. So to by heart is not a big deal, because from a young age, from the age of 10 or 11, I remember I used to come out, sit on that wet towel. I still sit on the chair I used to sit. I still remember the old tape recorder, the MS Subbalakshmi cassette used to be there, and he used to put it in and on it. And I should not get up from the chair until I chant the entire Vishnu Sahasranamam before I get ready to school. From the age of 11 or 12, I used to do so. I could by heart rattle off the Vishnu Sahasranamam. I had that in me to by heart. Now, even now, I apply myself to any text, I can by heart it. That is not a big deal. So the people who twist and torture these textbooks, just because they're able to quote the mantras, just because they have this knowledge of the shastras in terms of the literary texts they have, they think themselves all knowing. So which class of people is talking? Those Vedic pundits. So proverbial attack to all those section of people. I don't have anybody in mind when I say that. I'm trying to explain this. So attacking all those small knowledge. Such people, in spite of knowing, he calls them as fools, first and foremost. Secondly, he says these people, in spite of knowing, they're steeped in ignorance. Avidyayam antare vartamanaha. Antare vartamanaha means steeped in avidya. In spite of knowing the text, they are steeped in ignorance. But what do they consider themselves? Panditaha manyamanaha. They think themselves to be learned. They fancy themselves. Manaha means little arrogant. They fancy themselves to be learned. Swayam dhiraha. They consider themselves as wise and learned. Isn't this a typical sign of ignorance? A person who does not know thinks he knows everything. Then ahankar comes in. The kind of thinking, I know everything. That I know attitude. They don't realize their shortcomings. It's impossible to talk to them because they think they know. In fact, the fifth and the sixth mantra is very interesting. He's actually classifying the people into two types of categories. And the seventh mantra, he's actually giving the rare kind of a guru. So in these Gayatri mantra is actually classifying all of us into different categories. So you fit yourself which category you belong. It's not for me to fit. It's self-assessment. They do not realize their flaws. They are not ready to be corrected. Such people, he calls them as lost cases. They're all fools. And it is only the fools that follow the fools. It is the blind led by the blind. Even in the Bible, it is said, isn't it? If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. A very famous saying in the Bible. A blind led by the blind. So the leader and the led both reach a tragic end. See, when we talk of this, in the Bhajgovindam, there is a comparison. Each mantra is compared to a flower, or a set of verses are known as a Manjarika Stotra, a bouquet of flowers. Now, in any mantra, I'll tell you Gayatri Ma, there is any mantra or a flower has three distinct aspects. Let's understand it from a flower. A flower, firstly, has got a literary beauty. When you look at a flower from a distance, it is very beautiful. From a distance, it's so attractive. The color, the appeal is very beautiful. You get closer to the flower and you start smelling, it has got that aura, that beautiful fragrance. It is so refreshing. And then you go deeper into the bowels of the flower. There is that nectarine honey, which only those insects or the birds are able to go deep into the bowels of the flower. They're not interested in the beauty, nor are they interested in the fragrance. They're only interested in the honey. So Adi Shankaracharya says every mantra is like a flower. You can get enamored by the beauty of the flower, which is you can get enchanted by the lyrics and the beauty of the mantra. When these Vedic mantras are chanted with that authority in a orthodox Vedic chanting, like we got a glimpse of the chanting of the Kathopanishad, when authority chants in an orthodox way, it has an impact. Whenever we had the Vedic Pandits coming to the institute and performing the puja or chanting certain mantras, the whole auditorium reverberates with their Vedic chant. The intonation, the pitch, the way they pronounce the words has a profound impact. It calms your mind. It attunes your heart. It is even said to cure diseases. But sadly, this is just the beauty of the flower. It is just like you look at the beauty of a flower from a distance, merely listening to the chant or chanting the mantras is just the exterior beauty. And the mantra is attacking those kind of people who are lost in the exterior beauty. They think they know everything. They think what they're doing is the highest. Nobody can tell anything to them. Please keep in mind 5th, 6th, and 7th mantra and take the message in totality. 5, 6, 7. The second aspect of the example is the fragrance. What is the fragrance of the mantra? The fragrance is when you get closer to these verses, when you start trying to understand the content, what are they saying, try and relate to the context of the message, you will get practical tools for life and living. You will be able to find guidelines of higher values, how you can live your life. What should be the purpose of your life? These mantras are good to chant. They reverberate. They have a profound impact. But when you get closer to the mantra, it gives you practical tools of trying to live a life of sattva, to live a sattvic life. Very well. But some who dare to go deep into the bowels of the Shastras, bowels of this literature, and get to the very essence of the Shastra, the essence of this mantras. What is essence? Is to give us Atma Vidya, is to remind us that your only purpose in life is to attain moksha. How many go into the essence of the Shastras? Raha Raha, in the Dhyana shlokas it is said, Loke sajjana shatpadairaharaha pepiyamanam mudha bhuyad bharata pankajam kalimala pradhvamsthina shreyase. He says, the wise and the good people, Loke sajjana shatpadairaharaha, raharaha, day after day, again and again, he compares them to the bees. The good men of bees, they go day after day into the flowers because the flower keeps generating, it keeps producing the honey. So what do the honey bees do? Keep going in periodically. Here in the context, day after day means as regularly as you can. You keep visiting the bowels of the literature, keep visiting the essence, to draw the essence of the Shastras. What do you get? You get the Atma Vidya. And what time should you do? Not midday. You see the birds and the flowers are active very in the morning. They're already started their activity much before sunrise. Brahma Muhurtam. If you get up in the early morning and go deep into the bowels of the literature, what you will get is that honey. Now, keeping these three contexts, are you a seeker of mere exterior, or are you drawing practical tools for life and living, or are you seeking Atma Vidya? Which type of a category are you? In this mantra, he is criticizing the Pandits who only are caught up in the exterior or the literary beauty of the Shastras. The majority of the people are stuck here. Majority of the spiritual seekers are stuck here. So the gurus, who are the guru? What kind of gurus are there in the marketplace? That type of guru attracts that type of students. That's all. Elaborate pujas, elaborate rituals, elaborate chants, elaborate mantras. What are you catering? Whom are you catering to? You're only catering to these type of people who are only interested in the exterior of the flower, the beauty of the Shastras. You may say that also is a part of the Shastras. Yes, indeed. But a true guru is not this. The true guru is in the seventh mantra, is going to say. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham. I'll explain that. Such people, the deluded, as I said, the word Dandramyamanaha or Janghanyamanaha in the Mundaka Upanishad is said Janghanyamanaha. Here it is said Dandranyamanaha, refers to deluded in many crooked ways. How do you interpret this deluded in many crooked ways? See, the choice of words is very interesting. And they're so clear what they're saying. You and I don't have the eyes to see. If you think, I know what is talking, that's your ahankar. To that extent, you don't know. This is a sign of ignorant fellow. Ignorant fellow thinks, I know everything. How do you say in Malayalam? US? Manslaya? What do you say?
Manslaya is understand.
No, I ask you.
You know
understand?
everything.
What do you say?
You know everything. Ellam ariyo.
Ella?
Ellam ariyo.
Ellam ariyo. Enakkellam ariyo. I know everything. Sign of ignorance. You know, what Einstein said, what is my knowledge compared to my ignorance? A man of wisdom instantly is dwarfed by his ignorance. So the more you know how much you do not know. So the more you learn, it makes you feel how small and ignorant and insignificant you are. It just dwarfs you. So that's a sign of knowledge, a sign of ignorance. So when he uses the word deluded in many crooked ways, what does it mean? First and foremost, all the actions that these people are doing, or anybody in the category of mantra 5 and 6, you can include the next mantra as well. All their actions are arising out of ignorance. Ignorance here is they have no cognition of the higher goal. When you're acting, a fundamental question I got to ask myself, is my action, what is it being driven for? When you do not have cognition of the higher goal, your actions are arising out of ignorance. They are straying away from the truth. Like if you are driving to a destination, if you don't have the destination clearly in mind, you are meandering. You don't know where you're going. Where are you going? What are you trying to get to? Where are you trying to reach? That awareness is lacking. So when you act out of ignorance of the higher goal of life, you're just caught up in that cycle. Just examine what you're doing day in and day out. Just caught up in that rut, caught up in a vicious cycle. And who is reminding you of your action? Other blind fellows. They are doing it, I am doing it. They are working, I am working. They are running, I am running. Who is your yardstick? Another blind fellow. Blind leading the blind. You dare not to think anything beyond them because you have no eyes to see. You're alpa buddhi, manda buddhi. You can't think. Thank God I never thought of what it is. Array, I'm not doing a 9 to 5 job. I am not making a livelihood for myself. I never thought of that. Thank God. Some buddhi, to that extent I have buddhi. I never thought in that way. Because it's so easy to compare yourself to others and you find the odd fellow out. Array, I am the minority here. Nobody is doing what I'm doing. Am I doing the right thing? And there's nobody wants it. No guarantee, no assurance, no protection from the world, no material security, nothing. At least you may say, sir, you have a following now. I'm talking of 30 years ago when I started this, when I come out of the ashram. Ashram is a protected environment. You think that's everything. You come out into the world, you know the reality. Nobody wants it. But to have that kind of clarity, whom are you comparing? Whatever you're doing, remember, you're finding somebody else as your yardstick. You're finding somebody else as your mentor and guru. Who is that fellow? That's also another blind fellow. Remember that. Whatever you find a reason to continue your action, you are using another person in the same field, another person in the same circles to believe that is the right thing to do. And you is the blind leading the blind. Now, since the actions are arising out of ignorance, they are all the time acting to fulfill their desires. Either you directly run behind your desires to seek material into the world. You are directly running into the world to seek material benefits. That is the 6th mantra. Or you're trying to fulfill your desires through the spiritual path or the rituals. That refers to the 5th mantra. Out of ignorance, you are not running to the truth. You're running behind the world, but you use spirituality as a means to satisfy your material ends. Such people are the Pandits who are only seeking heavenly benefits. He criticizes them as fools, thinking they know what they're doing, blind led by the blind. And the sixth mantra are those who are very clear. They only worship material wealth and they run behind it as that is the only purpose of their life. Both these categories suffer because they are running behind desires. Any pursuit of desire is nothing but sorrow and suffering. Any pursuit of a desire, any desire that you are entertaining now, right now, put aside this class and look within and ask, what is it the desire that you are running behind, or that is important to you? It can be desired to your animate or inanimate. It could be a material possession, or it could be emotion, or it could be a family, it could be some attachment that you are concerned with. It is riddled with sorrow and suffering. Any desire, any pursuit is only full of suffering. Why? Because it is arising out of ignorance. You have no cognition of the goal of the, which is the self. And the Lord Yama dismisses them as fools. Mudaha, the very famous words of the Gurus, Mudaha, fools. So this type, so this mantra is talking those spiritual people who are caught up in the mere exterior of the Shastras. They do to mere enchant and enamor the others, and they themselves are lost because they also caught up in it, and they attract the small minds. Though it is beautiful, though it is enchanting, but it has a very limited end. Very, very limited end. And majority of the spiritual seekers fall in this category. Balance of the people will fall in the next mantra. Mantra 6.
न साम्परायः प्रतिभाति बालं प्रमाद्यन्तं वित्तमोहेन मूढम् अयं लोको नास्ति पर इति मानी पुनः पुनर्वशमापद्यते मे
Na samparaya pratibhati. Na samparaya pratibhati is not apparent to the pramadhyantam. Pramadhyantam is the ignorant. What is not apparent? The way to the hereafter, which is the entire theme of the text. The theme of the text, Nachiketa is asking the Lord, is what is hereafter? What happens after death? That is not apparent to the ignorant man. The way to the hereafter, the journey to the hereafter, what happens hereafter, that spiritual world is not apparent to the ignorant man. Why? Because he is balam. He is childish. Second, vittamohena. He is befooled by the glamour of wealth. Mudham, deluded. What do these fellows think? This is the only world. There is nothing other. What are you fellows talking about? Punah, punaha, again and again. What do? They fall under my sway. Vasham. Apadhyate. They attain me. Me here refers to the Lord of Death. So when you even do break up the words, you get the beauty of the Sanskrit words and the meaning. The way to the hereafter is not apparent to the ignorant man who is childish, befooled by the glamour of wealth. Now, this mantra is talking of the Asuri or Asuri Sampada. SR, can you tell what the word Asuri Sampada means? Even the Sanskrit word and the Telugu also the same thing. Asuri Sampada.
Not able to put, Guruji. Asuri Sampada means, is it something?
What does the word Sampada mean?
Sampada means wealth.
Asuri Sampada means?
Unwanted, or what you call it as over-desired, is something like.
Now,
Asuri.
that is a colloquial saying, but Asuri here refers to what? In what context? Keep in mantra 5, 6, and 7 together to get a holistic concept. This mantra talks of Asuri Sampada. In fact, the 16th mantra, 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is known as Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, it talks of the gods and the demons, the divine and the demoniac way of life, he says there. So he says how the demoniac, which is the Asura, what is their way of life? The 16th chapter explains in detail what this mantra is talking. The 16th mantra, 16th chapter of the Gita explains in detail. But this Asura is with reference to what?
It's Asura means here again Rakshasa in general.
Rakshasa. But who is a Rakshasa to whom?
We are the Rakshasas. When you say the person who is trying to evade the wealth, because Sampada is a wealth.
Sir, the word Asura comes because they are not seeking Brahman. They are not seeking the higher. Why are they not seeking the higher? These people, befooled by the glamour, they are caught up. First of all, the wealth is glamorous. They are attracted by wealth. And what is their standpoint? They say, this is the only thing in the world. What else is there? You fellows are thinking about wasting your time. Simply attending satsangs, doing nothing. Why can't you invest your time in creating wealth? Run behind wealth. What else is there in life, man? Tell me, SR, why are you simply attending satsangs, wasting your time? Expand your business. Increase your wealth.
We do come across that backlash, Guruji, no doubt about it.
Those are the people who are Asuri Sampada. Wealth is all that they seek, and they don't see anything other than wealth. And they are called Asura because they are not seeking the higher. That's the point I'm getting.
Okay.
It is not the creation of wealth that is wrong. You can create wealth through sattvic means also. That doesn't mean, in fact, there's nothing against wealth. In the Shastras, they glorify Raja Rishihi. Who is a Raja Rishihi? A Raja is royalty.
Right.
A Rishihi is a sage. King Janaka, Lord Rama, Dasharatha, all these men were Raja Rishi. So it's not against men who have wealth. It is those who seek wealth as the, what is the exact words?
They seek the wealth for the means of the people. Meant to say
No. Who seeks wealth as a means
a man
for the
who is
people?
No, I'm not able to get that.
No, you are very much there. Go ahead.
The people who are looking for a selfless services, like Raja Rishi, he is the one who is talking about. He is a dynamic in action in a sattvic manner.
Correct. So when one lives a dynamic life for a higher cause, You may be blessed with wealth as much as you can be a royalty. Who is to limit your wealth cap?
Yes.
They say nobody is to limit your wealth cap. You can be a Raja also.
Yep.
See, as long as you're not running behind wealth, you're not befooled by wealth, you don't fall a prey to wealth. But if wealth comes because of your ability to serve the higher, remember, when we serve the higher, the lower comes to you. When the lower comes, but you're not befooled by wealth, you're not falling a prey to wealth. You don't fall a prey means wealth is not an end in itself. When wealth becomes an end in itself, you are Asuri Sampada. Wealth is an end in itself means wealth is the only thing that they are interested in. The only thing that they get up morning to night is only how do I multiply wealth? How do I gain wealth? How do I reinvest my wealth into get a better returns? For whom? For myself and my family. That's all. Nobody else. I have created the will, I have laminated it, and I have put it in the locker. Nobody can tamper that will also. Everything very clear, sir. Allah, all for me and my children. That kind of an obsession for their acquisition and their pursuits. Asuri Sampada, because they fail, thank you, Ji, they fail to perceive a greater purpose in life. Majority of humanity falls into this category. They fail to realize of a transcendental purpose. They don't realize a higher purpose. They only run behind worldly. What wealth here means, what wealth can buy. It can be land acquisition. It could be property. Other day I heard in Pakistan, a mother and a daughter, they tied them up, plastered their mouth, built a wall around them because they were not giving their property share. Alive. They just built a concrete. I was reminded of the bricks. What do you call that? The terracotta bricks wall. Srinivasji and we are discussing about terracotta bricks for some construction work at the ashram. And then I was reminded of the picture. They constructed what for property? They wanted that at any cost. So what wealth can buy? Vittamana, Vittamohena, deluded by the glamour of wealth. These people are deluded. They are deluded by the glamour. You can't say what is there in it. They say, is there anything other than it? They don't see anything other than it. You ask them and say, what is there in it? They can't relate to you. You can't relate to them. This is the only world, no other. They are enamored by the sensory. They are enamored by the grossest of the grossest, which is sensory pleasures. These are the people who entertain the lowest of values, the most vulgar values. They worship carnal pleasures. They're only interested in sensual indulgences. They worship materiality. Lord Kubera is known as Lord of Wealth. When wealth becomes ostentatious, it becomes vulgar. Ostentatious display of wealth. The Ambani is celebrating their son's wedding, ostentatious display of wealth. Who is interested in your wealth? Whom are you attracting? What kind of people are you impressing? You want to pay $10 million for some stupid fellow to come and sing at your wedding? You will want to hire 100 private chartered planes to fly them in to attend your wedding. You will want to do what are you trying? Whom are you impressing? What world are you in? Who is interested in that? Only those who are enamored by that. The glamour of glittery is who is interested in glittery wear? Only the lower mind people, only the materialistic people are interested in it. How divine it could have been. Just do a simple traditional Orthodox wedding and do that and invest and put your wealth to do some good to the society. You can't argue with them. They say, what do you mean? What are you saying? They can't relate to you. I'm not blaming. I'm only trying to tell what the world is. Perhaps those people are the kings of that. Now, this mantra and the previous mantra, 5 and 6, as I've said, is talking of the two kinds of seekers. Don't forget the two paths, the path of Shreya, the path of Preya. The second Valli started with that. He says there are two paths a human being is visited with, the path of Shreya, the path of Preya. So 5 and 6 is talking of Preya. The previous mantra talks of the people who believe in the scriptures, who are the pandits. They perform the various kind of karmas and kandas only to reach Svargaloka or Brahmaloka. They are only interested in Swargam. They are the people who are abusing spirituality for only material ends, which is mantra 5. I'm just explicitly spelling it out. The pandits, the learned, they perform the various karmas and kandas, and because there are people who caught up in, I must do this karma, I must do this pindam, I must do that way, I must do this ritual. You're caught up in a prison, and there are people who are coming and celebrate, entertaining you, garlanding you in your prison. It's like somebody comes into your prison and they do giving you an award ceremony in the prison. Who is there to watch? The prisoner and the performer, which is you and the pandit. The leader and the led, both are caught up in that prison. Of what? Of pindam and kandam. I must do this offering, I must do that ritual, I can't do this time this must be offered. What are you caught up in? Whom are you caught up in? It's impossible to talk. At least you people are listening to me. It's impossible to talk. I must go to this particular place to offer I must go to Kashi. I must go to Badrinath. I must go to this place to do offering. What are you trying to do? There are people who will convince you to do that. Don't fall a prey to all that things. You think the departed soul is interested in your offering? That person has come, exhausted his or her karma and moved on. He has got nothing to do with you. When that person has come, did they bring you into the world? Nobody has brought you into the world. Nobody is going to be interested in the world after you're gone. Nobody. Celebrating you awarding you in the prison. You are imprisoned by certain things. There are people celebrating it. Second kind of people, they don't accept dharma. They are only interested in artha and kama. This mantra is talking. The majority of materialistic people are interested in artha, wealth, and kama, which is interpreted here as sensory pleasures, which is indulgences. So wealth and enjoyment. Spiritual path is not for such indiscriminate people. Viveka, one who has no discrimination. This path of the higher, which is coming in the next mantra, is not meant for them. They are only interested in putra and pashu. Putra is the family, pashu is wealth. Deluded by the glamour of wealth. The intellect is clouded, completely clouded. Tamasic people. Now here he is very clear. He is just dismissing them all. Perhaps dismissing the entire majority of people who run behind wealth. Now, in the Bhajagovindam, I'm sure you remember the choice of words where he says it's known as Pratipaksha Bhavana. Does anybody remember what Pratipaksha Bhavana means? The only person I think might know is Gayatri Ma. She's the only one who's doing takeaway after takeaway, takeaway after takeaway. So many takeaways she's got. You've taken away everything what I've got, Gayatri Ma. What is this? I'm left with nothing now. I'm empty.
Pratipaksha Bhavana is to stand apart and, analyze the thing is Pratipaksha Bhavana.
Pratipaksha Bhavana is to look at something from a different perspective. So one perspective and to look at the same thing from another perspective. So what is the perspective that we're analyzing here? Vijayji, what is the perspective that we're analyzing? What is it that's being analyzed?
Hare Krishna. Well, it's first thing is comparing the two forms of behavior and what each side, whether the prayer or the Shreya brings to the table, and where it takes you in terms of the destination. But the Pratipaksha Bhavana, I guess the literal translation would be seeing everything with equanimity.
Don't go by what your Google tells you. I can see the reflection in your spectacles.
No, Pratipaksha isn't means like seeing everything as the same.
Yeah, that's why I said Pratipaksha Bhavana is to look at something from a totally different perspective, from a totally different angle. Your outlook changes. That's what Pratipaksha Bhavana means. So the Pratipaksha Bhavana is to what in the context? The Pratipaksha Bhavana is to the context of wealth.
Okay.
Though, how does a fool look at wealth? He looks at it as a source of. How does he look at it?
Source of happiness,
Source of happiness.
attaining, fulfilling their desires and supposedly giving happiness, but which is of course deluded because it's short-lived.
Indeed, it is short-lived. They are deluded, but they look at generation of wealth, multiplication of wealth, pursuit of wealth as perhaps firstly he says only purpose of life, and they find that is the most satisfying, the most purposeful life. Now let's take a Pratipaksha Bhavana to it, to the pursuit of wealth. What are the three phases of any wealth? What are three aspects to wealth? Can you answer this question, please? I'm talking in a very simplistic, very mundane layman's point of view. When you talk of wealth as an object, what are the three aspects to wealth?
Does that include the need for wealth and the means to acquire the wealth? Like it's like the path to acquire wealth, or are you talking about when you have wealth, what are the three aspects of it?
Not to get wealth.
To get wealth.
To get wealth, or with reference to wealth. In fact, to get wealth perhaps is one of the means, one of the three aspects. In fact, sir, to put it in very simple words, when you talk of wealth, isn't there first aspect is of acquisition,
Correct.
procuring. How do you procure? How do you acquire wealth? Second, having acquired or you amassed wealth. Second is to hoard it, to preserve it, to protect it. Third comes the phase where you have to part with it.
Yes, true.
Three parts of wealth, which is acquisition, preservation, and parting with it. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to get to the youngest in the class, Ashwati. I don't know of those others who are not seen. Of the seen, I will say, Ashwati, can you tell me, you're following?
Yes, I am, Guruji.
What are the 3 points of wealth we said?
To acquire wealth, to preserve wealth, and then to part with wealth.
You have already picked up the American accent. I can see it. How long have you been in US now?
For about 7 years now.
You're already conditioned. We'll have to decondition you. Now, okay. Can you tell me about acquisition of wealth? What is the Pratipaksha Bhavana? So what we are trying to do is, we are trying to take, whose perspective would you want to take? We would like to take the perspective of the Guru. Now here the Guru is saying, all of this is what? What does he say the word? Childish, he says. You're fooled, you're befooled by the glamour of wealth. You people are childish fellows, man, running behind it. That's
Yeah.
saying. Now, from a layman's perspective, even if you look at it, not layman's, but to look at it from a guru's perspective in from a lowest standpoint. We're not philosophizing as the Guru is saying. Can you tell me, what does a pursuit of wealth do to you?
It can take you off your path. The path that you're supposed to be.
We're not talking of, here the path is only of wealth. We're not talking of path of Shreya. We're talking of the path of wealth only. The fools look at the path of wealth as I said, is enjoyable, is glorious, is everything in life. What is the Pratipaksha Bhavana to wealth? Pratipaksha Bhavana to acquisition, preservation, and parting. Simple. I'll lead you, Ashwati, into it. Now, firstly, with reference to acquisition, is acquisition of wealth easy?
Yes. In general.
What's that?
In general, if you really think about it.
How many billions have you acquired so far? We also need some. Can you please give us also? Since you say it's very easy to, if it's difficult to transfer, you can transfer to your mom. Mom will give me. I'll talk to Yamunama. Don't worry.
I'm just talking in terms of the current age, because of the access to internet. It's very easy to acquire wealth if you really wanted to. There's lower standards of achieving that wealth if you really wanted to. But I'm assuming that's not what you mean. It is hard to get wealth.
But I am assuming you're saying generating wealth is like going for a walk in the park. I wish I'd known this 35 years ago. I would have pursued that. I'm struggling, banging my head to the table on this knowledge. I tell you, I wish I met you like that. We were not born then, no? Yeah, that's sadly. I met my Guru, not you. My Guru didn't tell me it's very easy to generate wealth. I would have run behind the glamour of wealth. No doubt you may put your investments into some stocks, or you buy Bitcoins, or I know what you're talking about. But you must, it's not easy. What I'm trying to get is, it's not easy to generate wealth if you work in the most honest way. We have known of a generation where they have been honest workers, in working with integrity. They have put in 30, 40 years of their life, and they have earned some money, which perhaps today some youngster will buy something and is a miracle, it balloons, and suddenly you go to a what is this, kaun banega crorepati? Main banunga crorepati. You go, you answer a few questions and you become a crorepati. What a father would have earned 30, 40 years of his life, and he's saved. One fellow goes and answers few questions and makes $1 million. That's what you're talking about. That is not what, in that sense. That is not how quickly it comes, that quickly it goes. But everybody will say, generation of wealth is not that easy. You got to put in a lot of effort, struggle. You want to manufacture a product, you must have quality, then you market the product, then there must be customers, then you get profits, then you pay your taxes, then you get dividends, then you say, I have made this much profit, which I have to pay taxes on, and then I must enjoy the fruits of that. It's not easy. You got to go through a process, and that process is not that efficient. It's not, when I say it's not that easy. So you have to work hard to generate money. Sorry, you have to, no choice but to agree to me. I know reluctantly you're nodding the head. I can see.
It is true. It is true. I'm on the same boat, so I can.
No, I read your mind. Don't have to agree to me. It's all right. You are entitled to have your own view. Okay. Now, second aspect of wealth, I want to ask Setuji. Setuji, please, I know you often quoted people in this context. The second aspect is preservation of wealth. Is it easy to preserve the wealth that one has amassed or hoarded?
You,
Hariomji.
totally different way of looking at it is wealth you can generate. You do your best, and whatever you get, accept it. And if it is much more than your needs, you donate them for good causes.
Sir, please don't. I don't want. I know it's your favorite subject. I don't want to get to that. What I'm trying to get at is, can you please throw light on how it is Pratipaksha Bhavana to acquisition, preservation, and parting? People think is a great joy and happiness in creating, preserving wealth. But the reality of it is it really that joy in creating wealth? We said it is no joy. You have to sacrifice your life, your time. You don't have time with your family. You're running 15, 16 hours behind your workers, your employees, your businessmen, your partners. You're not sacrificing. You're sacrificing your children, their growth, your time with the family to generate wealth, isn't it? It's not easy to generate wealth. That's we clarified. Now, is it pleasurable to preserve wealth? Is it easy? Is it a joy in preserving wealth?
It's much more tougher than generating.
Much more tougher than preserving. I don't want to quote people. Yesterday, Setuji, last week, you and I were there with somebody, on the same table. They were talking. They have got properties scattered all over the city. The lady was complaining, sir, it has become such a headache to maintain our properties. We have actually locked up and kept, because even to give it for rent, they have taken ownership of it. Now I can't even tell them to let go. It is a big headache now. So most of our properties are locked and kept, generating no income. But they may be appreciating and things, but it is a pain in the neck for them. I have generated wealth. Now I have a problem dealing with them. Do you remember that context, Setuji? Don't mention the names. If you're invested in some stock market or some Bitcoin or some mutual fund, all the time you're worried. What is the arrow? Is it up or down? Up or down? What has it got? What is happening? What is happening? Russia is attacking this fellow. That is doing this fellow. Stock market affected. Oh, my investments have gone down. I wish I should pluck from this and plant it there. All the time you will be worried of wealth, preserving what you've acquired. And then comes somebody, knocks at the door and say, can you please give us some charity? Please help us. Parting is torture. I say, I rather die than part with my wealth. Now I ask you, what is the joy in wealth? Is there joy in acquisition? Is there joy in preservation? Is there joy in parting with it? And yet, the wealth is glamorous. Glamorous to whom? To the aviveka, one who lacks the discrimination, one who lacks the wisdom. He is enamored by wealth, but not that viveka, one who has the discrimination. Go back to the fourth mantra. Nachiketa is being praised. He said, Yama said, I offered you all the wealth in the heaven and earth. You denounced it. You are a man of wisdom. You will attain the fruit of wisdom, which is moksha. You are different, O Nachiketa. So Yama is so pleased by seeing a man who is not fallen to the, which is the word, I'm looking for the exact word in the fourth mantra. I think in the third mantra, sorry. Vittamayima. Vittamayima means you're not fallen a prey to the road of wealth, in which many mortals sink. Manushyaha majjanti pahavaha. Many men have drowned themselves in the pursuit of wealth. You have not fallen a prey to that, O Nachiketa. You are a man who is seeking that wisdom. So a true guru looks for a student like that who has not fallen a prey to the charms of the glamour of wealth. Here in the back to the sixth mantra, he says, he falls again and again under my sway. My sway refers to Lord Yama, which is the Lord of death. Such people are bound to this cycle of samsara. They are born again and again. Why? Because they are only feeding their desires, and they will be born again because they will have left with so many desires to be fulfilled. They are bound to the samsara of birth and death. And the cycle of birth, cycle of life is, the cycle of life has the 5 metamorphic changes: birth, growth, disease, decay, death. Now, these 5 metamorphic changes, tell me, all these 5 metamorphic changes, which is pleasurable? Birth is a torture to the mother and to the baby also. The moment the child is born is so dependent, so dependent, so vulnerable, has to be so much protected. If the mother is not there, the nurse is not there, the caretaker is not there, the food is not there, anything is not there, finished. You are exposed yourself to pain and suffering. Growth, I know. So, other day, we had a meal, and after the meal, some small granule of rice got stuck in my gum in the extreme back of the thing. So I rushed the next day to the dentist because something is bothering. We keep trying to take it off, it's not happening. You gargled and tried to give it some time, it didn't. And went to the dentist to get it checked up. And he said, sir, I have checked, there's nothing there. But there's a wisdom tooth there at the very back. Hope that will not bother you, but if it doesn't bother you, carry on. You all get the context? Gayatri Ma, what am I saying?
Small thing in the tooth itself was troubling you, like small.
That I know. In what context I said?
Parting, preserving, and
Yes. Mute yourself. You're distracting me. What is I saying? Reddy Garu, what was I saying? Growth. Yes, SR, correct.
Like birth, growth, disease, decay, and death in that context.
Growth. You are still with parting and preserving wealth, Gayatri Ma. I've moved on. The 5 metamorphic changes of life. Birth is painful. Growth, wisdom tooth is growing. That fellow is a torture. And the doctor said, hope it doesn't grow. If it grows, it has to be pulled out. I'm only praying. Pratasmarami. I'm only praying wisdom doesn't grow in me. Because suddenly wisdom grows in different ways, I'm in trouble. I don't want wisdom to grow. Yes, sir. So, see, everything is a problem, no?
Yes.
So, what to do? That's life. So, birth is painful. Growth is painful. Disease, decay, death, don't have to mention. Now, tell me which aspect of life is a joy? Which aspect of life is a joy? Pratipaksha bhavana to life. We have seen Pratipaksha bhavana to wealth, Pratipaksha bhavana to life. And imagine somebody is bound again and again to that cycle of birth and death. My sway, to that cycle he is born again and again. Because here is a man who's running behind worldly ends. 5th and 6th mantra, he wipes out the majority of mankind. Majority are wiped out. You fellows are unfit fellows. Means he has put them into the path of prayer. 5th mantra, again I repeat, 5th mantra talks about, okay, I don't want to repeat. I want to see how many of you understood that. Vasantama, what is 5th mantra talking about?
Fifth mantra is talking about accumulation of fools are steeped in ignorance. We are all ignorantly, we think we know everything, and we are all ignorant.
But what, yeah, that is the general translation. But what kind of people is he talking about? In fact, he's talking about a minority of people. Mantra 6 talks of the majority of people. What is a small minority of people?
Those who are doing the shastras, following all the being led, led by the blind. They are
Okay. Right. Yeah, Gayatri, you're right. So the fifth mantra is talking about the people who are abusing spirituality. Those who are in the spiritual field abusing spirituality just to satisfy their ends, to attain some Swargaloka. They want heavenly rewards and returns, and they are caught up in the exterior of the text. They are only caught up in the mere beauty of the Shastras. The sixth mantra is talking about the majority of the people who are worshipping wealth and power, and such people will convince you that there is nothing else in the world other than this. So be mindful whom you are with, what company you keep. You may begin your day with Brahma Murtam and Satsang, but rest of the day you are with Rakshasas, you will only be conditioned to be them. Watch out which company you keep. Such people are born again and again. We will chant the seventh mantra. I will just get into it, but I'll come back again. I want to chant it so that you understand the context.
श्रवणायापि बहुभिर्यो न लभ्यः शृण्वन्तोऽपि बहवोऽयं न विद्युः आश्चर्यो वक्ता कुशलोऽस्य लब्धा आश्चर्यो ज्ञाता कुशलानुशिष्टः.
Many are not able to even listen to this, which is the Atman. Having heard of him, they do not comprehend. Thus, a rare one who reveals the self is a wonder. One who comprehends the self is a wonder when taught by a proficient preceptor. Kushalam anushishtaha, taught by a qualified preceptor, proficient preceptor. Ascharya, it's a wonderment. What's a wonderment? Now, this mantra is the glorification of Atma Vidya. Nothing short of Atma Vidya, glorification of a seeker, glorification of a guru who can relate to the purpose of life, which is to attain moksha. Many are not able to even listen to this. I often get a feedback, even during the public lectures we had not long ago, a few months ago. The public lectures on the topic, the glory of action. Setuji, I remember he coming and telling me, when I spoke of the elements of Atman and the moksha and the self, some of the people who came through his reference, they enjoyed the lecture series, but they said whenever you talk of Atman, Brahman, they can't relate to it. Am I right, Setuji? They can't relate to it. Not specific to any specific person. I don't know whom he is talking about also. But whenever you talk of that moksha, they get, it is not something, it's not for them. So often I told, Guruji, please don't talk of all that. Can you talk down to earth, very down to earth? Imagine, Vasantama, other day in the Rotary what was that context of it? It is the installation, right? Installation, right word?
Guruji, installation.
Installation. So there was a Rotary conference, 60 years of a club celebrating installation, and they called me to address them. And I addressed them. It struck a chord with so many of them. I did not talk of Atman Brahman at all. If I had spoke of Atman Brahman, they would have thrown me midway. They would have thrown me out of the hall. What are you fellow blabbering, prattling? It doesn't make any sense. So many are not able to even listen to the Atman. Means you talk of Atman, you talk of Atma Vidya, you talk of moksha, you talk of enlightenment. Many are not able to even attune. Forget, lost. Having heard about Atman, most people don't understand. Okay, you all are the blessed lot. You're all able to sit and listen to Atma Vidya. Now, how many of you are able to comprehend Atma Vidya? How many of you are able to conceive the goal of self-realization and say, yes, sir, I have the fervor now. I can borrow some of your fervor and energy to seek the Atman, the self. How many? You find out. How many of you can remain the flame of Atman during the course of the day? Remind yourself of the Atman rest of the day. Think of the moksha as the goal rest of the day. The goal should not fade away. It should only get stronger and stronger. Thus, a rare one who reveals the self is a wonder. So to come across a person who can glorify of the self indeed is a wonder. One who can comprehend the self, to find a student who can relate to that self is a wonder. So that unique combination to find as I said, Shrotriyam and Brahmanishtam. Shrotriyam, Brahmanishtam is the qualification of a guru. I'll come back to this mantra, I'll explain again, but just mentioning. Shrotriyam is one who is very well versed in the Shastras. Brahmanishtam is one who is established in the God consciousness. Not only does he have that personal experience of the self, he also has the language of the Shastras to communicate the self. I may have the self, but I don't talk of the self. What's the use if I have it and don't talk of it? I have that God consciousness, but I also have the language to express that God consciousness to you. I can quote the Shastras. I have the ability to communicate that self. That rarity, that is a wonder. To find such a guru is a rarity. So a true teacher is one who has that intimate personal experience of the Atman, who is committed and skillful in communicating, who is well versed and mastered the Shastras. That indeed, he says, when taught by such a proficient teacher or a preceptor, indeed is a true wonder. So, fifth mantra talks of Pandits who are worshipping their own material ends as hypocrites. They are worshipping ends through spiritual path. Majority of material people are seeking materiality. A rare indeed is one who talks of the self, relates to the self, comprehends it, and inspired by it. That rarity of a guru and a shishya is indeed a wonder. This is, in fact, the first wonder. The 7 wonders you all are going around the world seeing is only next. This is the first wonder. So this should be the wonder you must be interested in, not the 7 wonders of the world. You keep wondering until I come back again next week. But don't get lost in that wonderment. Come back, we'll again revisit this 7th mantra, which is indeed a wonderment, I must say. Right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.